Chapter 24. Reintroducing the Crazed Genius. Naruto and Tayayu were currently on a mission in the Land of Fire, delivering a message to a government official towards the border of the Land of Fire and Land of Rivers. Little did they realize that the request for them two had been made by someone under a genjutsu. When they arrived to the town, they couldn't help but notice how empty the town was. There were only a few people walking around and they weren't even paying attention to them. Normally when they entered a town there were people looking at them. Ninja were normally unseen outside of Konohagakure unless on missions or rogue, thus making people naturally curious as to why there were ninja in their village. This wasn't the case though. The people walked up the streets without observing them, paying attention to nothing other than where they were going. Naruto had an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach about this whole situation. As he observed them he slowly pieced together what was going on. Tayayu-chan, we should get out of here. Tayayu looked at him with a confused look as Naruto was looking around with a calculating look. That was when Naruto stopped walking and held on to Tayuyu's arm. They are in a trance. Or they are in a genjutsu. There is only one person that I know of who is strong enough for something like this. Tayayu looked at him, then she knew who he was talking about. You think that Itachi Uchiha is here somewhere then, huh? The blonde monk's eyes were scanning the area. I am sure that he is. If that crazy bastard is where I would expect him to be, then he would be in a henge under the man that summoned us here. I think that we should leave. This is a battlefield that could claim civilian lives, which is something I would really rather not happen. The red-headed woman looked around the small village then at Naruto before nodding her head in agreement. When they were backing up though they stopped upon hearing a voice. Why, look what we have here, the Kyuubi and his woman. They both looked up at the building where the voice came from and saw the red cloak and hat. Naruto instantly started to channel some Kyuubi chakra into his eyes to counter any genjutsu attempts from the crazed genius. Tayayu closed her eyes until she felt the familiar feeling of Naruto's lips on hers and could feel the chakra going into her towards her eyes. When she opened them, Naruto saw the crimson eyes with a fox slit in them as well, knowing that he had given her enough to last her for about 2 hours. They had trained in this, increasing the amount of Kyuubi chakra he could put into her without harming her. As they both looked up and met the Sharingan user, he smirked at them. What do you think of my little village? Kind of nice, don't you think? Naruto again looked around at the village of people, then back at Itachi. What you have done to these people is not living. You have taken their minds and made it so they just senselessly go on with what you think they should do. You have essentially taken their lives already. Itachi smiled at Naruto's statement. You think that what they had before was life. You think what you have is a life, Nine Tails. Out of this whole world the only one who cares about you is a traitor who used to help Orochimaru. One person. All of these people care about each other because I made it that way. Don't you think that is more of a life than what you have? The blonde-haired man looked around the town with a bit of a downtrodden look. Even now at times he wished that the people he used to consider his friends seemed to care about him a little more. Though he knew in the end it didn't matter, in the end he had her, which was all that he really needed. Tayayu, through all the time she had spent with the blonde-haired men, could sense the irritation and depression that was rolling off of him. That was when she spoke up. Perhaps when he kills you more people will like him. Plus, that old hag and her little assistant care about him, so that makes 3. Can you count that high? Itachi smirked, then disappeared in a flock of crows, then reappeared in front of them without his cloak on. The two Konohagakure ninja stared at the rogue Konohagakure ninja for a moment before Naruto flashed at him, drawing his sword as he did. Itachi quickly drew a kunai and blocked Naruto's blade. The Nine Tails is always so eager to die or be captured. Naruto sent a knee into Itachi's gut and sent him skidding backwards a little before standing up straight. If I am always so eager for it, then how come you have never caught me or killed me, Itachi? I am pretty sure that in Sunagakure we kicked your ass until you were saved by that third Akatsuki member. The rogue Sharingan user smirked. That was different, it was 2-on-1 then. Naruto gave him a confused look for a moment, then realized. Tayayu-chan, look out. The red-headed woman leapt up into the air as pieces of paper flew past her. Yeah, I already know, Naruto, so shut up and let me concentrate. Said blonde-haired man smiled, then looked back at Itachi. You brought the paper user with you again, huh? I suppose there are worse people that you could have chosen to assist you. Itachi nodded his head in agreement, then stood tall as he ran, though his hand signs quickly. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. As the fireball came from Itachi's mouth, Naruto went through his own hand signs, wind style, gale palm. Naruto's jutsu redirected the fireball back at Itachi, making the Sharingan user smile. Clever boy. Itachi leapt up into the air and saw that Naruto was in the air with his blade drawn. Itachi quickly reacted and threw a kunai, followed by hand signs, Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto watched as the kunai came close and it connected to his skull. Itachi smiled for a moment, then watched as the Naruto disappeared in a puff of white smoke. Itachi glanced back and saw that there was another Naruto coming at him from behind with a Rasengan in his hand. Realizing he didn't have enough time to turn and counter, he grabbed a shuriken with a wire attached to it and threw it at a building. When it connected, he quickly pulled himself out of harm's way. As Naruto flew past him, that Naruto disappeared in a puff of white smoke, and Itachi quickly started to look around, trying to find where the real Naruto currently was. Tayayu, on the other hand, wasn't really toying with her opponent. Konan was weaker than Itachi, so she wanted to try and finish off her opponent and help her idiot as quickly as she could. She watched as Konan currently had paper shuriken floating around her, at her disposal for any quick need that she may need them for. Tayayu knew the best way to deal with her would be to use genjutsu, so she quickly unsnapped the holster on the back of belt and outslid her cherished flute Naruto had gotten her all those years ago. Tayayu watched closely as she lifted the flute to her lips. As she went to play, though, that was when Konan started to send her attacks. Tayayu, though, had done training with her blonde-haired lover for situations just like this. Remembering that he told her that the fact that she was able to do long-range genjutsu gave her an advantage not many could do. So for her training he made it so that she had to play her flute while he threw shuriken at her, making it so that she learned to play while jumping around and not having to stay still like she once had to. As she spun around in the air, she started to play what they had always called the Siren's Song. It wasn't her most powerful genjutsu, but it should be enough to give her the openings that she needed. As the genjutsu started, Konan quickly started to feel the effects as Tayayu rushed towards her. She leapt into the air, drawing out kunai, and went to stab into her, but as she connected, she saw that Konan disappeared in a million pieces of paper. She looked over her shoulder and saw another Konan standing there with her hand pointed at Tayayu. Tayayu reacted quickly, and as all the papers started to fly down at Tayayu, she leapt and spun through the little gap that was there and landed just outside the kill zone. Tayayu used the advantage of the dust in the air to throw kunai through it with paper bombs attached to them. As they neared her, Konan blocked them with her own paper shuriken. Then when she noticed the paper bombs, it was too late. She was blown backwards by the shock wave and took a little damage. As Konan got back to her feet, she saw that Tayayu was up on a branch with kunai in her hands. She threw them down around her, and that was when she noticed that there were wires attached to them. Konan knew what it was that Tayayu was planning now. She was going to use that attack she used on Itachi and Sunagaku. It was a powerful genjutsu to be able to have affected him so greatly as well. Tayayu started to channel her chakra into her fingertips and played on the wires as Konan quickly covered her ears. That was when Konan saw 3 more Tayuyus standing around looking at her. Why do you all think that covering your ears is what stops the genjutsu? Konan removed her hands and closed her eyes, but Tayayu smiled. No, I was just kidding, it is the sense of hearing that it attacks. The blue-haired Akatsuki woman opened her eyes and saw that there were now thousands of Tayuyus standing around smiling at her victoriously. They all started to move closer to her, and then Tayayu drew back and went to deliver the final blow. Itachi looked for the blonde-haired Jinchuriki so that he could kill or capture him. He would rather kill him, but if he did that, then they would lose Kyuubi as well. That was a side effect that the leader of Akatsuki would not be happy about. Itachi sighed as he looked around again, scanning the area. Come out and play Naruto. If you don't, I will just have to go and kill your annoying red-headed lover. That was when 5 Narutos leapt up all around him, all of them having a Rasengan spinning in their hands. They all had Kyuubi chakra cloaks on them as well, making Itachi smirk. So, you didn't like that I threatened her, huh? All of them slammed down their Rasengans as Itachi jumped up through their small gap. That was when 4 more Narutos jumped with swords at the ready. As they all neared, Itachi had to move fast and drew 2 kunai to block some of the blade, but wasn't able to block them all, taking one through the stomach. As the Uchiha genius coughed up some blood, all of the Narutos smirked as the others dispelled and showed Naruto was the one who connected with his sword. As Itachi fell to the ground, Naruto landed next to him and looked over at Tayayu, who was about to finish of Conan. As they both drew back and went for their strikes, their attacks were blocked by black poles. Naruto looked up and his gaze instantly started to burn with hatred as he looked at the face of Pain. Naruto went to attack him, but the Pains grabbed Itachi and jumped away, doing the same with Conan. Tayayu came over to Naruto to make sure that he didn't do anything stupid as Pain looked at him. Kyuubi Jinchuriki Naruto Uzumaki and his ever-faithful companion Tayayu. This will be the last time that we underestimate you. The next time we send people after you, you will not survive and you will be captured. I will take the Kyuubi from you as I make her watch, then I will kill her to let her join you in the afterlife. Naruto glared at him with irritation. You killed my sensei. We are having this battle right here and right now. The Pains all smiled. I don't think so. With that they all disappeared, taking Itachi and Conan with them, and an irate Naruto still standing there. His body was shaking with anger. Bastard. He ran away from me. Tayayu put her hand on his shoulder. It's okay, Naruto-kun, let's get going now. Naruto looked at her, a little of his anger melting away as he did. He could still feel the anger, but it wasn't nearly as bad before they started their walk back to Konohagakure. They took their time, stopping for festivals and at other villages, but eventually they did make it back. To be continued.